Because Rick Chow is a free man tonight after a Richland County jury found him not guilty of murder in the shooting of Cyrus Carmack-Belton late last night. But the road to that verdict was anything but straightforward. We have team coverage of the Chow case tonight. We begin with our Megan Gagnon, who covered this trial from beginning until end. Now, you talked to one of Chow's defense attorneys today. What's the latest here?
Yeah, Brian, I was inside that courtroom for the entire trial, and what happened in that jury room Monday was anything but simple. 3 separate trips back to the judge to ask questions, confusion over the law, and a request to go home that was denied. Nearly 8 hours before 12 people reached a unanimous decision of not guilty.
We, the jury, unanimously find the defendant, Chike Rick Chow, as to the charge of murder, not guilty.
It took nearly 8 hours, 3 trips back to the courtroom, and a judge who refused to let the jury go home for the night before a verdict was reached. The jury sat through 3 days of testimony from 15 witnesses before hearing closing arguments Monday morning.
The first thing that occurred to me is the system worked.
But before the jury even started deliberating, both sides spent hours making their final case.
Right at 74-41.
Solicitor Byron Gibson pointing to 4 eyewitnesses from 4 different vantage points, all of whom testified they never saw Cyrus point a gun in May 2023. Gibson also pointed to the physical evidence, reminding jurors that Cyrus ran more than 130 yards, lost a shoe, dropped 2 cell phones, and never once turned around.
As he ran away from Rick Chow and Andy Chow, he died scared.
The defense countered, telling jurors they only heard part of the story all week. Attorney Sean Ken argued the state built its entire case on emotion rather than evidence, and that Rick Chow had a legal right to protect his son.
Think about it. How many times did you hear throughout the course of this trial the great state of South Carolina say the following sentence? They could have done this, they could have done this, they could have done this, they could have done this. They don't have evidence to offer, but they have fear.
Joe McCullough, one of Chow's defense attorneys, says what he thinks ultimately made the difference was the full picture the jury saw inside the courtroom, including nearly 3 hours of testimony from Chow's son, Andy, the only person other than Rick Chow who says he saw Cyrus point a gun.
Both Andy and Mr. Chow told exactly the same version of events. There was no time for them to make up story, to get their stories right, or to get their stories together.
Deliberations began just after noon on Monday. About 3 hours in, the jury came back with a question for Judge Heath Taylor, asking him to clarify the legal definition of malice. Then, just before 6 o'clock, the 4-person asked if the jury could be dismissed for the evening. Judge Taylor said no, citing concerns about the high media attention this case has drawn.
The danger of the jury not being objective and not being pure and relying on the evidence that they hear in the courtroom, not on what's occurring outside of the courtroom, is very real.
This case also has drawn national attention long before deliberations started. Judge Taylor addressed threatening emails sent to attorneys and judges, letting the public know that he would be forwarding them to SLED and asking the public to be respectful. Throughout the 5-day trial, 2 jurors were dismissed, 1 on each of the first 2 days, leaving just 2 alternates. Just after 7 o'clock, the jury requested written copies of the judge's instructions. Taylor agreed, sending 3 copies back with them. At 8:31 Monday night, the jury returned for the final time with the verdict, not guilty. Tonight, Solicitor Byron Gibson released a statement saying he is disappointed with the outcome and continues to believe Rick Chow's actions were not justifiable, but says he respects the jury's decision and is asking the community to respond peacefully. The defense is asking the same.
I think that people should respect a jury who listened, who was presented with all the evidence that the court permitted, who made a decision, and that's where this sad event should end.
Now, the 12-person jury who decided Rick Chow's fate was made up of 3 black men, 2 black women, 3 white women, 2 white men, and 2 jurors of other backgrounds, all who reached a unanimous decision after nearly 8 hours. Now, I asked Solicitor Gibson's office why manslaughter was not an option for a charge, and I'm still waiting for a response. In studio, I'm Megan Gagnon, Watch Fox News, Local First.